around your treaties you wrote. Fake as history, we ain't going over here on no boat. Frontin' like you indigenous to the land, you disgust me. The tomahawk is back in our hands, it's getting ugly. You running around screaming black power, cause it sells to the truth. Livers veil with a bull and high hills. Native Americans butt hurt, can't deal, cause they know damn well the Trail of Tears ain't real. Respect the Aborigine, this land is ours, and though you all. You still a guest, motherfucker. I had 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them, telling me. I had 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them, telling me. House nigga, real nigga, fake nigga, feel nigga. My skin ain't black, what the deal, nigga? Salute on my real spit, it's Aborigines, owners of the land and every goddamn tree and every goddamn sea. Invaders ever crossed, step foot on the land and you can step the fuck off. Breathe, you can make a swing the sacred tomahawk. Fucking around with us with that black conscious talk. Fake pics of slave ships, that's the reference. If we African, look, you gon' need more evidence. I'm American, Aboriginal, indigenous, Shiboga DNA test. That shit is rhetoric, stay woke. Aboriginal, get out. Your civil rights acts, all you can eat, big out. The Stockholm syndrome, make skits out. Phoenix Moon got the antidote, get that shit out. Meanwhile, I'm rapping about my birthright, fuck a freestyle. Teach each man, each woman, each child. Black races really Indians indeed now. Man, they indeed now. Hollywood, Title 18, G goes. Pilgrims get big gold with Phoenix and Beast Mode. Bringing my peoples out of the sleep mode. We ain't black, colors, Africans, or Negroes. I had 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them, telling me. I had 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them, telling me.
Understand how you look at Thomas Jefferson, you look at George Washington, you look at James Monroe, look at James Madison. One thing they were brilliant, they also had slaves. So how do we grow as a country, but yet not forget our past?
So you have to understand history, and you have to understand the culture and so many other aspects of our country. And people can study that and they can hate it, and let's all hate it. But you can't take down George Washington's statue, and half of our country is named after Washington. You can't. We have to remember the heritage, the culture of our country. And you know, this is less important, but it's very important. Some of the things that they're trying to destroy are magnificent pieces of art. Have you ever seen an area where a statue is removed and you look at the area and they put blacktop over the top of it, they put asphalt over the top, and that's the end? And it was the center of a town or a village, and now the statue's gone, and the whole village is like a different place. And here's the other problem I have. A lot of these people that want it down don't even know what they're taking down. I watch them on television, and I see what's happening, and they're ripping down things. They have no idea what they're ripping down. But they started off with the Confederate, and then they go to Ulysses S. Grant. Well, what's that all about? And they would knock down Lincoln. There's a group that wants to take down Lincoln. They haven't figured out exactly why yet. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. I've stopped them twice now from going over to the Jefferson Memorial. Not going to happen.
Francis Scott Key, the latest writer of the national anthem.
He wrote the national anthem.
So, since you have done a lot for the African American community, what is your message to them who said my ancestors were enslaved because of their?
My message is that we have a great country. We have the greatest country on earth. We have a heritage, we have a history, and we should learn from the history. And if you don't understand your history, you will go back to it again. You will go right back to it. You have to learn. Think of it. You take away that whole era, and you're going to go back to it sometime. People won't know about it. They're going to forget about it. It's okay, Now, what I do like, I like the idea of building new statues to people, to great people, people that have done something. And I think that's okay. Right. But you don't want to take away our heritage and our history. And the beauty, in many cases, the beauty, the artistic beauty, some of the sculptures and some of this work is some of the great, you can go to France, you can go anywhere in the world, and you'll never see more magnificent work. And that's a factor. It's not the biggest factor, but it's a factor.
Halito.
What's going on, Mac? Halito, everyone. Halito.
Halito, Chamachukma.
Okay, there go Phoenix. I don't see Mac. I can't get Mac in, but let me get you up here on the screen.
It's hard to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I hear you good.
Yeah.
So what's good?
How are you good brothers doing?
Everything is going well. What
yes,
about you,
indeed.
Mac?
Everything is healthy.
Indian Mac, what's good with you?
Man, just digging what Trump is saying. Learn your history.
And this is what we've been saying the whole time. So we kind of have a good idea that there are people listening to our griefs, gripes, and concerns. So there you have it. Now they demonize Trump and this truth that he tells. This is not the stuff that gets circulated. They always have something that they want you to see to portray him in a way as if he's not not intelligent or doesn't have what it takes. When you can tell this comes from a peanut gallery of people that do not even know what civics are. They don't know jack squat about politics at all. They don't have any involvement directly, and they are looking from the sense of being a citizen and not being an elector or from the perspective of a voter, like, it's not my job, we can have somebody else do it for us, as opposed to what they are able to self-govern. Seems to be so far beyond, and people of color have become accustomed to being told what to do, but they want to know who's telling them what to do. So basically, essentially, what's been happening is people have been voting for people that they feel that they'll be more comfortable with telling them what to do. You don't know what it takes to run a country. You don't know that your state is your country. If you don't know what your fifth or sixth great-grandparents, any of them, were doing, why do you want to turn down a statue? They told you that you were slaves. Are you really sure about that? Do you think that you were the only African slaves, the only black African slaves? Because turns out there's other African slaves. And this is what you don't know about history. So when the president says you need to do your history, particularly to the people of color, it is because your identity has been concealed. Now, if you think for 1 second that this man is the demon that people say that he is, why would he tell you to learn your history if everybody knows that you were slaves? I need some answers. Why would he say that you need to know your history if everybody is in the consensus saying that you were all slaves? I'm gonna need somebody. I'm gonna need.
I agree. I mean, and if we talk about slavery, well, who's the first slave master? We should be able to talk about that too, right?
That is correct.
Anthony Johnson, this person called Anthony Johnson, he was the first slave master, so they say, the person of color. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about them, let's talk about it.
Right.
Who was his slave? Were they
held? And Antonio the Negro, which was his name when he came on the Goodspeed, he actually held a man in captivity longer than what the contract was supposed to be. And that was the case with John Casor, I think his name was. So
So
when
how
they say,
long?
if you look up the etymology, um, uh, let's see if we can get Coach to pull up the etymology of Africa. Let's pull the etymology of Africa up and show people what the etymology of Africa is. So when they call themselves African slaves, you are essentially, could be calling yourself a white person that was enslaved via the Barbary Corsairs, or simply they were kicked out, Protestants protesting certain things in their prospective nations that they were kicked out of. I'm also going to roll you something too, Coach, so we can show people what the slave manifest actually looked like. And what the burden of proof is going to be that they will have to use to identify if, in fact, these things are true of what they're saying. And I don't think that it's dawned on people how important it is for them to scratch the lie and find the thief. Again, this had to be triggered by the statues coming down. People are all sorts of upset regarding these statues that have been there. And, you know, far be it for me to totally say that I don't understand, because I went to Andrew Jackson High School, of all high schools, is where I wound up graduating from. So when you think about it in hindsight, that was injurious to me as an American Indian going to Andrew Jackson High School.
Wow.
But now, flash forward years later, now that I've done the history of my own tangible bloodline relatives, now that we have been doing genealogy for so many hundreds and hundreds of other people, and we've been able to exchange these stories and talk about this as a collective of other people have noticed these little fine nuances throughout their genealogical findings. So when you have all of these rumors and all of these people saying that, oh, there's no records and everything burned, they just put their whole entire genetic matter, find it easier to swab their mouth with a Q-tip and put their genetic code in a Petri dish and send it off to strangers that they're not testing it against anyone living or dead that you are actually kinline related to.
Mm. Yeah, I was trying to pull up the etymology of Africa.
Yes, we want to go to the etymology of Africa so that the Africologist and people can actually have an understanding of what that word means and its beginning, inception, and who they are talking about, because that word also places people in a specific place. And this is a common mistake that people, especially Black Americans, do here in the United States, with certainly surrounding themselves in the mentality that we are all the same, when in fact everyone else in the world knows that we are not. This is the reason why we are not taken care of, let's say, the richest people on the planet, but yet the poorest in culture and heritage. We know the least about the land from which we came, probably than any other group of people in the world. And I'm sure that that comes off as pretty harsh, but if you can't name any of your fifth great grandparents, then that would mean you. And that's not exclusive to the Americas. That would be for anybody that is in a nation where oppression is something that dominates over the Aboriginal people of that particular land, whomever they may be. Um, did you find you were you able to find it? I mean, I can pull it
Nah,
up
I didn't
and
see. I
send
didn't
it
see
to
what
you.
you. I didn't see what you was. I done read about 5 different ones. You got me looking because I be want to know.
No, I have it right here. I can get it and I'll send you the link.
Okay, that'll work.
Let's get to
No mind you.
etymology.
Whatever the easiest way for you to send it, I can take it.
But I think we've used it so much that they actually don't have it in the top hints anymore. We beat
I
it so
see.
hard.
Mm-hmm. Make sure everyone, if you can, like, share, subscribe to the pages that you are
Yes,
on.
definitely. Here we go. Let me get this for you. Now, this is Etymology Online. And there's been some changes, and we actually have what it says from 10 years ago. And I'm going to come back and I'll post the screenshots from 7 to 10 years ago versus about 5 or 6 years ago. Well, maybe 4 years ago to now, because I can look even at first glance that it partially has changed. So let me send this to you, Coach, and
Okay.
perhaps you can
Yeah, I can.
share it so
Yeah, I can
that
share it. I can share it. No problem.
people are able to see. Okay, let me. So we like to give the primary sources so that people don't get all upset when you are teaching the actual truth. They have a problem with it all the time, even though they say that that's, what in fact it is that they want. So there's a little difficulty in teaching. So with this being said, we have to go back to the beginning and we provide firsthand primary information so that people are aware that this isn't any sort of opinion or anything like that. This is actual fact, and it's nothing that we can do about it. And it's best to put it out there so that people, at least we have the satisfaction of knowing that you can't say that no one ever told you what time it is. And why some of the reasons why people are oppressed, getting down to some of these different things that need to be explicated and elucidated. And it has to have an explanation. You have to be concise. So we don't all have the same problems, but we have to compartmentalize things in order to be effective and to change the regime that it is people say that they're having a hard time with. Did you get that, Coach?
Yes, I did. I'm about to show it in 1 minute. I'm fixing it so everybody can see it. It's that one paragraph that I see. But
Okay, and I have another one that I'd like to show, just so that you can stop. People they have to know exactly who it is that they are. And not only is that important, it's imperative to your liberty. It's imperative to whatever freedoms you think that you may be entitled to or should be afforded.
okay, here it goes, coming right
It's the
on up.
thing about racism that people don't know even exists. I sent that over to you.
Okay. Can you see the one I did on Africa? I posted it right there. It should be under you on the screen.
Okay, yes. Okay, so this is the etymology. So the etymology, the etymol is the definition of the root of the basic root and start of the word. Okay, I lost it. I don't see it now. I see the email now,
Oh
not
yeah,
the.
I didn't know I was on the main screen.
Okay, there it is. And it says Latin, Africa Terra, African land, Libya, the Carthaginian territory. Okay, now I also want to send a map. Let's pull up that good old beautiful map.
So you done with this one?
The wilderness. Nope, you can leave that up too.
Okay.
So if you can do like a side by side so they can see. And that map, let's get it from Princeton University. You know, they like to see scholarships. So let's get that from Princeton so people know where these sources are coming from, so that they can understand. Because when you exclude your history here in America, you cannot skip past it and take the shit somewhere else. And the reason why you can't do that is because you are skipping over yourself. So I just want to break something down for the people in the back that have a problem with us doing a breakdown of what American history is, because they have American history twisted. And us as American Indians, we have the right to tell our story, and nobody gets to tell it for us. We've taken the initiative to do our own digging. We've to do our own digging on our own tangible bloodline history. Not that we didn't welcome visiting other ethnic groups in different areas of study in various nations that we've studied over the years. It did not have anything to do with how to save who they call my black ass in America. And it's been the same thing perpetuated for several generations now, much to the detriment of the people that cry the loudest. So let's talk about this. Now, Africa, Old English. Oh, did I change it? Did you change it? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I'm on the evolution of the map, but I'm taking it off. I was
Okay, I
just
want to show this first map here.
the
And this map is of Princeton. If you can
1554.
show that map as well as the etymology and like kind of put them next to each other so people could see.
Which map?
The first map, this one,
1554.
1554, the one at the very top of the page,
Gotcha.
and what it says to the right of it, the caption of it.
Okay, you want that too. Okay. All right, say no more. I got you. Really can't blow that up much. Oh, yes, I can right here.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to interact with people in the chat. I hope the moderators
Yeah,
are in there.
I was looking in the chat, and some people said they couldn't hear. Let me check back and
They
see
still
if
can't
they
hear?
can hear. Well, hold on, because I mean, this is what they were saying on my channel that they couldn't hear. So let me make sure they can hear what's going on. Okay, the maps are being featured now. Okay, so I'm asking the people, can I hear?
Okay, that's one map. That's the map right here. I'm trying to blow it up some so they can really.
If you click on the picture via the website, let me see. I can actually send the picture. This is really important that they see this map, and this is the oldest map of the continent of Africa, way before they called the continent Africa.
There it is.
So this is where people are going to have a problem exclaiming that they are African slaves by being able to prove the lineage. So this is going to be the problem.
Here it is. 1554. That thing, that's serious. That's the bottom of it. Okay, so boom. Now, you
Okay.
want me to put the etymology up?
Yes, if you can put that etymology of Africa there side next to that to where they can see the map as well.
No, they're not gonna be able to see the map because like the screen is only so big for them to actually get the detail of the map. But I can do one and the other. I can go back and forth.
So let me do this. Let me drop the link for these maps for the people. And I'm kind of doing a screen share, so a little different. So okay, so I'm gonna go to Restream and put this in there so that the people have access to it. Give me one moment.
And it looked like Ethiopia was further deep to Africa at this time, the so-called Africa, because
Right.
the way Ethiopia is now is it looked way far off from where it's on the map now, because it looks like Ethiopia at one point in time was in the middle of Africa.
That's right. Okay, so I just dropped the link to this in the chat. Let me see. And that's the link to all of these maps. There's several. And as you read, you will see that they are saying that they never made it into the interior. Look how long it took them to go into the interior of Africa, each as they progress. And this is on the website is Princeton. I know you can't see where my cursor is, but going back to the etymology, which reads Old English. You'll be able to pull it back up.
Yeah, it's up now. I'm blowing it up so they can see it.
Oh my God, they just got to throw the LGBTQ all in our face. My God. Okay.
You know how they do.
Okay, so no, this is actually African, but that's okay too. So Old English, Africanus, plural, native or inhabitant of Africa. Native or inhabitant. What would be the difference? Native or inhabitant. You need to look up those words because a native
Mm-hmm.
to a land is a natural born serf, a
Mm-hmm.
denizen. They are simply a native by birth, not
Mm-hmm.
by earth.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now you have an inhabitant, and that inhabitant word is very vague in scope, and you need to know what that means. From Latin Africanus or Africa, African, from Africa, see Africa. So, Coach, can you click right there where it takes you back to the word Africa? Latin
Mm-hmm.
terra, Africa land, Libya, the Carthaginian territory, the province of Africa, and at lastly, Africa as a continent. And this is in more recent times. This was not there because they did not call this place Africa until much, much later. Now, if you go back to the map or to that etymology, Coach, if you go right back to African, there's one another point that I'd like to make.
Mm.
African, yeah.
I think I might have to put it
Okay,
back.
so well, this is the map, but here at the top, if you can take the cursor and point it over there where that little near Carthagena, right? Near modern
Carthagena.
day Tunisia, Algeria. This is where the Moors. This is where the Moors would be from. Here and the other side of the Mediterranean. So Africa was not the continent. It was only no bigger than the state of Delaware. Okay, and this is in
Right.
the 1500s.
This Africa right here.
And that matches exactly what the etymology says for that.
Mm.
Now, so if you go back to the word African and you see the little white monoculi on that map, don't forget to inspect that map. It's lots of spicy meatballs on there, especially, I don't know how African scholars miss it, but they often do. I've never seen anyone um, of those scholars that came from out of the American Indian community, separating ourselves from people that constantly think that they know who we are when they themselves, again, don't know who they are. So, again, now it says use of white residents of Africa from 1815. Now, I can assure you that the old etymology, just specifically from etymology online, used to say to 1815. So that means that the people that were coming could also have included what we now call white people. So who are you calling African American? Charlize Theron?
Mm.
North Africa is not invisible. Europe is North Africa.
Come on.
White people inhabited South Africa, and I know, and they know it too. I'm not saying that they originated there, but I'm not saying you can't say that they didn't. Their records are starting 1600s. They're available. So the people that have went through those lands, they were enumerated. I have slave records from people from over there as well. So they documented that. What is everyone's excuse? What is everyone in the world's excuse? The excuse will be all sorts of other people to blame. They will, in this case with Trump, they think he has like this totalitarian form of government. Um, People believe as though he is a form of dictator. And these are the people that can't even name which grandparents were alive during the time these statues went up, if they have any relation to those statues, to those situations, if they're in any of the books, alongside in agreement with some of these people that you call the white supreme, with the holy supremes, whatever they call them. I yield the mic for a second. Go on, Mac.
You there, Mac?
You there, Mac?
Take out the screen. I got you. Well,
I don't know if the brother stepped away or not.
I think I just learned something
I
tonight
wanted
about
to
Africa.
do. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said I just learned something about Africa.
So, these are some of the things that these scholars don't talk about because they try to lump people up into one pool. So now here's another situation where we have all the money that has now been to the historical black HBCUs, SUs, which were Indian normal schools, right? To educate American Indian and Negro children. So, with that being said, Mac is there. He's asking if I can hear him, and
Let
no,
me
I
see. Let me
can't.
see. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, he got to refresh. His audio is on.
Refresh. And what was I saying? I'm sorry. I completely threw me off. Um,
Throw
so
your
we're
hands
the
up.
people.
Okay, y'all can hear me. All right. My bad.
Well, yeah, I can now.
You good?
Um, so basically, Mac, I was breaking down how the distinction has to be made between all oppressed people. And it's nothing to do with any self hatred, but in fact, quite the opposite. What that does is allows you to have a place to call home. Everyone has a place to call home. Even if you make somewhere else your home, you still have to have some sort of attachment to the land. And the burden of proof is going to be on the people that are making different claims that they have to substantiate, regardless of whatever story you heard or whatever it is you think you know. Do you really know? And at the urgency of the President of the United States encouraging so-called black people to learn their history. He didn't say learn American history. He didn't say learn white history. He said learn their history of what their
Yep.
family and their ancestors were doing. And he's saying that to an audience of people that have for decades now indicated that there was this vast amount of slaves coming from different nations performing everything that built the beautiful nation that everybody wants to live in today. So you want to know why the Indian has a problem with that? Because the Indian is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Kyrie Irving getting flack from LeBron James and everybody for not talking about Black Lives Matter because Kyrie Irving knows that he is who? An
Indian.
American Indian. So we got to hide behind in the shadows of people that didn't do their due diligence. You want to drag us off and take away our ethnicity, right? You give up our
Yep.
ethnicity is American and our race
I
is
think
American Indian.
he did that right after they won a ring. Did it live on national TV.
I am from the Chickahominy race, the Pamunkey race. It's a race of people that were here. This is why we call people grandma killers, because when you act like you know somebody else's history and you don't even know your own history, you killed every grandma around that brought us here. All the gimmies that got me here,
Dang,
as if she didn't even exist.
you fucking kid, grandma killer, you.
That's a grandma killer.
Yeah, it is. Well, why is it so hard if everybody this goes out to the ADOS, this goes out to all these different sets of schools of thought or whatever. Why is it so hard just to do genealogy? Why you want to take down monuments and take down Confederate flags when your people probably could have been the slave master? So by you not knowing your history and you're following behind all these different people, the pale skins, the chocolate skins, you following behind everybody and what they're saying when you can be really taking down your own history, destroying
That's
your
right.
own history and culture. Because
That's
That's
the
right.
it
thing.
was a lot of people of color that was the slave master. But don't nobody want to talk about that. Why?
Right.
Or why is it so hard for y'all to believe that? See, and this would kill me too, because a lot of you Pan Africans, you out of Africa. You say you was kings and queens, but didn't those kings and queens have servants and slaves? I'm gonna repeat that again. Didn't these kings and queens have slaves? If y'all was
And
kings and
subjects.
queens, right?
They had subjects also as citizens of the kingdom, correct? They weren't members of a kingdom. They were citizens or subjects of a kingdom.
See, and this comes with critical thinking. You're not thinking. You can't say we was kings and then say we were slaves. Make up your mind. Is you the king or is you the slave? Make up your mind. Y'all don't want to look at your own history, man. And I'm convinced. Because the stuff is out here for y'all. Y'all make up every excuse. Well, you know what? They burned up the records. You know what? Our people wasn't documenting nothing. Damn. What is it? It's always some excuse. So you was an illiterate king or queen? You was dumb? You didn't know how to write? Nobody knew how to document anything? Make up your mind. What are you? What do you want to be? I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like this. Me personally, and this is not anybody else's opinion. This is mine on this panel. I'm for slavery because if you want to live in ignorance, I want you. You should be a slave. You should be a slave. I'm all for slavery. If you want to live in ignorance and you don't want to do the right thing by yourself or your children, you deserve to be a slave. I'm pro-slavery, and I'm putting up that black fist. I'm putting up that black fist on your ass. I'm for slavery. You want to be a dumb nigga or a nigger? My black fist is up. Slavery. I'm pro-slavery because you do it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. It's sad.
Let's talk about, I just sent Coach a clip in regards to the king and why they were so upset. And this is something that they don't understand about the history that our ancestors are directly attached to, in one way or another, sometimes good and sometimes bad. And we're going to get to that as well. Check out that video that I sent you, Coach.
I'm pulling it up now. It's a giant smoke cloud headed towards Florida. All right, you ready to play it?
This one is going to spark a little nostalgia.
You want me to
However, yes, please.
Coming up.
Rocking and a rolling, slishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? The pilgrims sailed the sea to find a place to call their own. In their ship Mayflower, they hope to find a better home. They finally knocked on Plymouth Rock, and someone said, "We're there." It may not look like home, but at this point I don't care. Oh, they were missing Mother England. They swore their loyalty until the very end. Anything you say, King, it's okay, King. You know it's kind of scary on your own. Gonna build a new land the way we planned. Could you help us run it till it's grown? They planted corn, you know, they built their houses one by one. And bit by bit they worked until the colonies were done. They looked around, yeah, up and down, and someone said, "Hooray! If the king could only see us now, he would be proud of us today." They knew that now they'd run their own land. But George III still vowed he'd rule them to the end. Anything I say, do it my way now. Anything I say, do it my way. Don't you get to feeling independent, 'cause I'm gonna force you to obey. He taxed their property, he didn't give them any choice. And back in England, he didn't give them any voice. That's called taxation without representation, and it's not fair. But when the colonies complained, the king said, "I don't care." He fix our cup of tea. To put it kindly, King, we really don't agree. Gonna show you how we feel. We're gonna dump this tea and turn this harbor into the biggest cup of tea in history. They wanted no more mothering land. They knew the time had come for them to take command. It's very clear you're being unfair, King. No matter what you say, we won't obey. Gonna hold a revolution now, King, and we're gonna run it all away with no more king.
We're gonna elect a president.
No more king.
He's gonna do what the people want.
No more king.
We're gonna run things our way.
No more king.
Nobody's gonna tell us what to do.
Rocking and a rolling, slishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? Looks like it's going to be a free country.
Okay. Thanks, Coach. So
I like that.
that was Schoolhouse Rock, right? So everybody remembers the Schoolhouse Rock. You brought up how, they were saying they were kings. We're talking about some of the history in this country, and that is how that ties in. Now, I want to drop these records on Crispus Attucks, the Boston Tea Party. This is the separation leading up to the Declaration of Independence. Crispus Attucks, I'm going to actually show the records directly from the archives. They did document. This is absolutely documented. Hold on one second. Let me see here.
I'm rocking and rolling.
And you can see that Crispus Attucks records from when he died in the Boston Tea Party, they absolutely do exist. So if we can find records on Crispus Attucks, you think it is simply because he is the first so-called African slave black man that was able to bust his guns and, for a cause that he didn't feel was necessary?
You talking
I
about
mean, is that something that people may have, did they ever factor that in? They will tell you in school that Crispus Attucks was a black man and leave vague and just say he got murked in, the Revolutionary War. But do you understand what the Boston Tea Party was about? And what it sparked and what it incited. So now, those same freedoms that they were expecting to have is the reason why they have the Republic. Right? You want to elaborate on that, Mac?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Well, what part? As far as the Republic?
Yes. And them establishing the Republic, and how some of the actual tribes, the Indian tribes, now all of these things, you and I have studied all of these things, and we are now seeing some of the colonial information where different factions of different tribes of Indians and all of this stuff going on politically in the midst of what everyone is calling slavery, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. And with these different tribes, for example, I always give people this example because, the Choctaws, them was my folks. You had Choctaw British, you had Choctaw French, you had Choctaw Spanish, you even had Choctaws with the English. But we're the families that's fighting amongst each other when we shouldn't be fighting amongst each other. And then in some instances, our families were doing this. Although some will be on the side of the English and some will be on the side of the British, we will let the British and the English kill themselves off, and we would take over. So there's a lot of stuff to this history that a lot of us is not knowing about. And then we had slaves. It's true. A lot of us had slaves and servants. But this is before what you know as today as the United States. So when you go back to your nations and your tribes and you study the history, you'll see that not only was our people fighting each other here and there, but I mean we got a negative past too. Just like we got a positive past that you want to claim, and yeah, we did this, we did that. We did a lot of negative things as well too.
Now let me just get something. I'm going to send you something, Coach. And this is the legal definition for what a slave is. Because I want people to be very clear on what it is, right? Without any margin of error or misunderstandings. Let's see what the law says a slave was. Never mind that visual that you have that just traumatized you, right? Let me see. Here we go. Hold on a second. And this is well, you see for yourself what it is this way, because this is not what they do in school. They don't break it down. People went to school all these years and they still have yet to really be able to solidly compartmentalize things in a
That's
manner in
correct.
which people are going to be able to understand. It is in a manner in which is to program you rather to learn you, right? Educating and being a learned person is two different things. Education
Hmm.
simply means to train, to be trained. You are trained. That does not mean you know. You are trained to know what you are told to know.
You're trained. You are being taught and trained to be a loser. A loser.
Right. That's
You
right.
have been trained to think like a slave.
That is
You've
right.
been trained
That is
to
right.
to think that an African, is somebody with your hair because you might have tight curls, and people frown upon tight curls. So you know you've been trained to be just that.
Right. 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 So I just sent Coach something. I want people to see what that word is.
Okay.
If you could read that, Coach, because I'm looking for something else to send you so that.
Coach there.
Yes,
Oh,
Coach.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's gonna.
What is a slave?
Yes.
A person who is wholly subject to the will of another, one who has no freedom of action, but whose person and services are wholly under the control of another. Didn't you just read that? Webster, one who is under the power of a master and who belongs to him, so that the master may sell and dispose of his person. That's not real. Of his industry and of his labor, without his being able to do anything, have anything, or acquire anything, but what must belong to his master.
Mm, okay.
And you know what else we should do? Whenever we get a chance to, you guys, let's show people these slave records
I'm
because
here right
in
now. I'm
Oklahoma.
getting them right now. I'm getting them right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna post them
Mhm.
up right now so we can show them, because we're gonna break down these words so they can be very careful about what it is that they're saying about their grandma and grandpas that they don't know what they're talking
Mhm.
about. Okay, so now, wholly subject to the will of another, one who has no freedom of action, but whose person and services are wholly under control of another, one who is under the power of a master and who belongs to him, so that the master may sell and dispose of this person of his industry and of his labor, without his being able to do anything, have anything, or acquire anything, but what must belong to his master. So now this here still is coded. There's going to be another one. Hold on one second. Let's get another little dictionary. Where it talks about your political rights. And that essentially is what that means. All that other stuff, this right here, this is fluff and tough fluff right here. I'm going to tell y'all that right the fuck now, because the records are going to indicate something totally different.
Yep.
The records are going to end up being something totally different, and this is not what it said before. So let me pull up the other law dictionary that I have on my phone, just so I could tell you that there's a whole nother level to it. And I'm going to send this to you. so that you can understand and how to break down this history that's right here in your face, and people are having a hard time identifying with. Give me
because
1 second.
you choose to be followers. You choose to be followers instead of leading your own self. Back to being a loser. You want somebody to tell you come out the Bible, you from these tribes in the Bible. Well, I just showed y'all where the shit came from. It's made up. You want somebody to tell you that you come from underneath the water, that you was a dolphin at one point in time. You're a loser. You're a loser. That's made up. Now you want somebody you want somebody to tell you that you Apu from Aladdin with the little popcorn hat on his head, the red one. You a loser. These records are here. They are accessible. You can get to the records.
That's right.
You just choose
Yeah.
to be a loser. You got the records, Phoenix?
Give me 1 second. I have to sign into my account. I don't know if Coach will be able to do it. Coach into Ancestry.
I think I still got my ancestry. It's under no grandma.
Okay, give me 1 second. So I'll go into that one.
Boy, it's colder than a polar bear's toenail up in here. Turn that thing off.
Yeah, but man, the shit is crazy. It makes you found the Phoenix?
She digging.
Oh,
I'm digging. I'm getting the manifest up for people to see what it's hitting for. All these records they saying that they don't exist, you know. Okay, so now I can send this to you, Coach, and I'm just gonna.
And before you, as you putting it up, Coach, I don't want to hear nobody talking about all the records got burned up, because I got family from state to state, from Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, goddamn Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas. How the hell am I able to get all these records? And y'all telling me y'all can't get records?
It's kind of easier when I'm doing it, so I know exactly where I'm going and keep the point going, so the flow doesn't change. So I am sending this to Coach who's producing, so it is a little difficult, and it does become.
Yeah, I had to get it before the show.
Let me see. Okay, so I want to send this, and if you're signed in, it'll be easy for you. So let me show you guys this, because this is where they get it twisted. Okay, and now check that out.
All right. Living the life.
And let me open one so you can actually.
There it is.
Now these are the inward coast. Okay, so these are inward and outward slave manifests, but they are all along the coastline of the United States from 1790, okay, to 1860. So the inward, of course, is going to be your disembark. Inward would be slaves coming in, and the outward is going to be your embarked, because they got on a boat and they left America and went somewhere else. And you best believe they were sending Americans out somewhere else for a very long time, from 1790 to 1860, especially to Liberia, Sierra Leone, and other places, of course, within the Americas. They had an intra-American slave trade, and I think that people are having a hard time understanding that. There was no African slave imports after 1808. And if you look at the slavevoyages.org, which is the most comprehensive database in the world, it completely tells you that there is less than 350,000 people in all of the 350 years of slavery known to be in what we call the United States of America or North America. With that being said, that would translate to either 38 slaves a month that would have to get distributed throughout all of the 13 colonies for 350 years, or 857 slaves a year, right? That would get split up through the colonies. How does that work for 350 years?
Wait. What was the total number of slaves again?
Less than 300,000. I can pull it right here. It's right here.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll
So
send
if
it
it was less,
to you.
if it was less than,
350,000.
yeah,
And
that's
you
what I'm
still
saying. If it's
cannot prove that it came from Africa because they did not. There was no more African imports after 1808 in the United States.
well, my thing is, if it was less than 350,000 people brought over here, and this whole continent is mostly Indian, and
Yes,
then there's millions of us, we're mixing them out.
that's correct. That's correct. Um,
So if anything, they wouldn't really hold on to their heritage and lineage because of the mixture. Then they'll
that's
be
correct.
taking on
And the
American
mixture
culture.
is essentially just other Indians from different places. When you look at the genealogy of, let's say, like Jamaica or Puerto Rico, where they also have free. I have some St. Croix hurricane relief. It's like a welfare. There was a hurricane in 1775 in the the island of St. Croix, and the free people of color were able to get a stipend or some sort of stimulus check because they were twisted because of this hurricane. 1774 or maybe 75. So there are all sorts of records. And of course, the free people of color were taking on the names of the French. I think at that time would have been the Dutch. Um, but these are the things that we don't know. And people just kind of shadow box and they just want to hate everybody, hate white people, and then don't even know what it's hitting for with their own tangible bloodline ancestors.
Because they don't know
So
they
that,
daddy. They don't know their
yeah, that's
grandparents. They ain't asking no questions. How can somebody tell you what happened 200 years ago, 400 years ago, when they don't even know who their daddy is? They don't even know their daddy bloodline. They can't even go back 20 years, let alone 10 years. Look, man, y'all stop playing. Stop playing games. You
hmm
shouldn't be trying to tell nobody about no history thousands of years ago if you can't tell me about your history 50 years ago or 100 years ago. Get it together. Get it together.
that is right. So let's get it. Here you go, right here, and that's some of the data that people don't look for. Well, they also don't necessarily look for their people. For whatever reason, I'm not really certain, but let's see. We got the timeline right here. Is that the table? Here we go. Okay, so now they're gonna have to deal with this right here. This is something else.
What you trying to put up right now?
Here we go. Let's see. Here we go. This is going to be how many slaves disembarked in America from 1526 to 1850s. Let's see.
I want to ask a
Okay.
question, but I'm gonna wait until you pull us up.
Go ahead.
Well,
5 years.
when people say that they were slaves, what type of slavery are they talking about? Because, you know, I read in this book, and they had documents that there were people who had slaves, but their slaves, they were feeding their slaves. So that was like compensation. They was feeding them, they gave them shelter, and whoever lived on the land, hell, they built churches for these so-called slaves. So what is slavery really? Because we've been taught in schools, when you were a slave, you got your ass whipped,
Mhm.
and you didn't get nothing. But when you look at actual
Okay,
document, people was
it's
was
not the
working.
same
So,
thing.
mm-hmm.
That's right.
Okay.
Not the same thing. Okay, so I'll explain that. Here, coach, here you go. Let me know when you get that. And it's going to be right there at the top. And that is the word slave. A person who the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. A person who works very hard without proper remuneration or appreciation. A person who is excessively dependent upon or controlled by something. A device or part of one directly controlled by another. An ant captured in its pupal state by an ant of another species, for which it becomes a worker.
Say
Now, the
that again,
word
Phoenix.
for
That last part, and becomes a worker. Mm-hmm.
so now the difference with an apprentice, a person who was learning a trade from a skilled employer, having agreed to work for a fixed period at low wages, right? Slave, apprentice. Then you have, which would probably be compared to an indenture.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the master was supposed to do. When you look at why the slaves were suing, it was generally because the master did not keep their agreement with the trade. Master, a man who has people working for him, especially servants or slaves. A man in charge of an organization or group, having or showing very great skill or proficiency. Main principle: acquire
Mm-hmm.
complete knowledge or skill. Gain control of, overcome. So everyone knows about the Atlantic slave trade, but they don't know about the trans Pacific slave trade. And this is where you have a lot of the Native Americans that have come through. They're now Native Americans that you think are Native Americans. You may call them Mexicans. A lot of them have come from Chinos. Chinos were a part of the trans Pacific slave trade. I'm going to say that
And they
again.
the ones out here. I'm sorry, Phoenix. And they the ones out here on the West Coast, or in the West, talking about uh they the brown skin and you the black skin, and
No,
they be
sir, they were
pale.
not. They were not inside of the 13 colonies. That is not true. They were not
No, I
there.
know, but I'm saying this is what they're saying. Well, over here, they make it seem, because this is how they make the unaware coloreds out on the West Coast feel, that they are the original people here, and the so-called colored folks, the so-called black folks, are foreigners. They from another landmass.
No,
That's what
that's
some
not
of them do
true.
out here.
Coach, I just sent you a link. I just sent you a link. They were not in the 13 colonies or the Caribbean. They did not get to South America until much later. And don't forget that they had blackbirding and the coolie trade for people from Asia ended in the 1940s. And since the 1940s, if you've noticed, people tend mostly, predominantly, Hindu people had ownership of pretty much every hotel across America, and motel, excuse me, not hotel, motel across America. So if you could scroll down so that people can see, this is Asian slaves in colonial Mexico and how Chinos became Indians. So as vassals, the Moors, the Moors, as long as they stayed vassals to the Spanish crown, they had the same rights as the indigenous people. The Spanish were the first to not want to harm the Indians. They thought that we were a beautiful people. So the enslavement via the Spanish did not last long at all in North America. So in this book, this lady, she really breaks it down. She talks about Moors, and a little about Africans. She tells the story of a woman that was kidnapped. Her name ended up being Maria something something, but she was totally Catalina de San Juan, and she ended up being a saint. This is a really good book, and they came in Manila galleons. Those are the slave ships that people came from the Philippines, China, and Japan. There is a few diagrams on some work that I've done before regarding the slave trade and the routes that they had. And there is the Manila galleons that I was telling you about. They were a different type of slave ship. And this is how a lot of those people ended up being through there. Mexico has always been the hotbed for infiltration. This is why they were looking to close off the borders. If you notice, when Texas was finally admitted, Texas was formerly a part of Mexico. So if you are looking for records beyond the inception of statehood for Texas as a United States, and this is even prior to them seceding from the Union during the Civil War, this would still be a part of Spanish records under the Spanish colonization book or genre of records and research.
And that makes sense because when you look at Mexico now, you have many different races of people, or just races of people in Mexico trying to sneak over here through Mexico. So that makes sense. What was going on
And they're
now? I
not
mean,
the
what was
real
going on now? What's
Mexicans.
going on now?
They are not the original Mexicans who have now taken on a name that sort of takes them off the land. That happened a few years ago on Obama's watch. So Title 42 would not work for them. It doesn't work for them in Mexico, even though they are the United States. Also, they are Estados Unidos. Um, and that would go the same way in Central America in their fashion, and the same as South America as well. So they all have different reasons for wanting California, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, all of those border states have always had the same issues. Different tribes enslaving people, Navajos and Apaches having beef, the Ute enslaving the Navajos. Those things were going on, but they weren't documented until much later after the Civil War, when slavery was abolished in the colonies. And they, at that point, started to further their encroachment and engagement to the people that had been settled there in the West for that period of time. In no means does that make them the indigenous people of those areas as either. So when you have these imaginary borders, you think the United States and you think about the people in California. No, 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 no. The people that in California are wholly, or in partly at least, not the same people that were there 400 years ago. The people that are there now are the people that were in Virginia 400 years ago, 200 years ago, 120 years ago. So we know what their migration patterns are. And all of these things could not be going on at the same time that slavery was happening. All of this cold sucker shit was going. There's too many wars, there's too many skirmishes, and it's all beef with Indians. So even the Civil War itself, if that is called the Chickamauga War, Chickamauga means it was about some who?
Indians.
Indian.
Wait, didn't on the Confederate flag it say Chickamauga?
Yes, it is,
Yeah,
but they want to tear the Confederate flag up.
because when you guys fail to learn your story,
Right.
You open up the door for everybody else to take over your land, your culture.
Right.
Just like
Right.
on BET last night, since you niggas like hippity and the hoppity and rapping, I'm gonna come through, blast it, shoot that nigga down. Since you like that so much, since you love it so much, why don't you protect your culture? They on BET last night, they gave an award to foreigners, to real Africans. And your dumb ass just don't see it. You don't see that by what Black Lives Matter is doing, what they're trying to fight for, they're fighting for immigration. So when they bring in more people, that puts you at a disadvantage. If they outnumber
Indeed.
you, you at a disadvantage. And then a lot of us don't understand that we still do have the heavy numbers, but then your mind is fucked up. So by you having a
Yeah.
dumb, empty mind, that put us at even more of a disadvantage. Because you failed to learn your history.
Yep. Yep. That's true. This is absolutely true. And then they insert other people. And I'm actually tagging Nakin into don't give our history away to foreigners.
They giving everything away, Phoenix. I mean, they don't know their identity, so then the foreigners come in. Yeah, we those people. We the original people of the land. And these niggas got a question mark on top of their head because they think they from somewhere else. So now, with the culture, with the hipping and the hopping and the blues, you just let everybody come through, snatch your shit, and then you left with nothing. And it's
Yeah.
happened right in front of you because you're dumb. And I'm gonna tell you how it is. You make me sick. I'm gonna tell you straight out because somebody need to tell you how dumb you are to let them just destroy everything.
Yep.
I want them to
Because
put them
they
on the
don't
boat.
think they
Like I
have
said,
anything. They don't think they have anything.
hey, they think they ain't got anything now. Wait, just wait. Keep playing dumb. Keep not wanting to research your own history. You ain't gonna have nothing, all right. Yep. And
Mm-hmm.
you really gonna be on Moo. You gonna be in Moo somewhere. Yep. Keep playing dumb. You ain't gonna have a
They're gonna
land to walk on or nothing. Keep playing dumb.
they're gonna get rid of the pictures of Walter Plecker. Uh, Tupac is gonna look like Eminem soon. They're giving it all away. Let them keep going. Let them keep going.
Yep.
Biggie will look like Don Rickles. Yep. Yep. They'll have Nipsey looking like Trump. This type of song it's
They
gonna
don't.
be on.
Hey, they don't care. They don't care, Phoenix. But like I said, you know, for those who do try to tap in with their heritage and learn about true American history, true Indian history, we're gonna prevail. But for those who still choose to ignore their heritage, and for those that still want to go with what the public is telling them, what society is telling them who they are, your ass need to be in bondage. If there was a GoFundMe, I would support that. Get these niggas out of here because you're toxic. I don't want my kids growing up with your kids. I don't want my kids even having the thought of being dumb like your kids. Get out. You want to be a foreign? Get out. Leave.
They're
Go to
very
Africa. I hope they put you
and what
niggas
happened
in the northern part of Africa where all the sand is, the middle northern part. Put you where the sand is, so you can't grow no food. Since you want to be African so bad, get them out of here. Get them out of here.
right. That's right.
This shit is
Okay, so
disgusting.
here it is. This is a different legal definition. Let me send this to Coach because this is gonna hit home is particularly um for the understanding of what a slave really is. So before you consider calling yourself that, or just putting that on your ancestors. Let me send this. This way, not to, you know, play yourself. Okay, coach, I just sent you something.
That boy coach over there working. Yeah, Phoenix, but it's crazy. This
Yes,
is
I just wonder who it is that they call enslaved. What was their folks' industry? Do they think they were all just growing tobacco and corn and stuff? Do they know what their grandfathers were doing? Do they know if their grandfathers were in the Revolutionary War? Really? You think the Moors could prove that? If the Moors could prove that their grandfathers were the ones in those pictures with Washington, do you think they would not? None of them are related to Benjamin Banneker yet. Nobody ran across any of that. Somebody's not telling the truth.
mm-hmm.
Benjamin Banneker was an Indian. He was an Indian.
All right. I see the definition up.
One of you guys can read that.
Hold on, right quick. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Let me get my Hebrew Israelite voice. You know how they be reading or whatnot. Let me get my Hebrew voice. Let me move my what's that
That
right
boy's
here?
stupid.
A person who is wholly subject to the will of another. Y'all got this is where y'all gotta come. That's right. A person,
That's
once
right.
again, a person who is wholly subject to the will of another. One who has no freedom of action, but whose person and services are wholly under the control of another. Once again, going back, but whose person and services are wholly under the control of another.
Hmm.
Then Webster. One who is under the power of a master. That's right. And who belongs to him, so that the master may sell and dispose of his person, of his industry, and of his labor without his being able to do anything, have anything, or acquire anything but what must belong to his master. That's right.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. You're
Come
crazy.
back, you a fool, boy.
So
That's right.
now people have an understanding of what's going on. Um, a master is someone that teaches you a trade. Now, if you look at what the United States is set up for and what is supposed to be regulated with Congress, commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
job of the legislative branch was to do what? Handle the law. The job of the judicial branch was to handle governing the law. The executive branch are different orders, right? So each of them have different entities and agencies among them. They're not all the same, and Donald Trump don't got nothing to do with anything except the United States
Yep.
and all of the
So what is
states and or countries in severalty. So when you talk about what a slave is, if you listen to the surviving slaves on the Library of Congress, and they tell you when slavery came, Master and them just cut us loose like cattle. They just turned us loose like dogs. They didn't have anywhere to go. You had a whole bunch of people that were on the highway. and they were houseless in their own homeland. So people really don't have a clue as to what really was going on, and they kind of doubt. They doubt their fly. You think you're all of that now? What you think your ancestors were? You
Hmm.
just reduce them down to nothing, as if that's what you come from, and maybe that idea in your mind is where you have that defeatist attitude that on one accord brings on defeat.
Hmm. That's deep. That's deep and that's weak at the same time. And we can make a change overnight. It's not hard. Just get your family records. That way you know where you stand. Understand the laws of this land. Understand the laws of this land. Be
That's right.
active in your town, your block, your city, your state. Be active. You can make a change where you at. Just go
That's
to
right.
where the so-called lawmakers at. And if
That's
you
right.
see them doing something wrong, hey, this is the laws of the land. That's what you tell them. This is such and such. This is this amendment. This is this article. This is the laws of the land. What are you doing?
Right.
But many of
Right.
y'all scared of y'all folks. That's not. They got to stop being scared of their folks.
Yes,
Put the
indeed.
goddamn phone down and acknowledge people. Look them in their eye. How you doing? Good morning.
That's
I like
right.
your hair. You look lovely today. Oh, you go to school? What you go to school for? Oh yeah, I go to school too. Make conversation. Get to know
There's
people.
a sister, Nikki Blackwell. These are ships that were U.S. coastal when people went to jail or there was no welfare. So they would send, for instance, Virginia had a pipeline. And Virginia would send lots of people to work at either Angola in Louisiana, and they ended up staying in Mississippi. You can tell by the last names where the people were in the 13 colonies, exactly where they came from, what in the towns and counties and villages, parishes. They all hold a treasure trove of information. These records, let me drop the link to the people in Facebook because I see some of them asking. So let me grab it from Family Search because everybody doesn't have uh, ancestry.
Hmm.
You can find them on the Library of Congress for free. There's going to be your outward, and your outward are going to include the African ships that came into mostly Rhode Island. Some you'll see some occasionally Georgia, but it doesn't say just because they came from there, they very well could have been people kidnapped from Europe and brought through there, and they're just getting smuggled out of Africa. There was a series of different corsairs and skirmishes going on during all this time. So they couldn't just be taking all of these people the way that they say that they did. Now, on land, I would say maybe the Arabs with the sub-Saharan slave trade, which is completely different. That might be your 12.5 million, up into and including whatever King Leopold, whatever havoc he may have wreaked, and that was in the late 1800s, early 1900s that happened. So you have to connect the oppression and the things correctly in order for, I'm not saying that no Africans came to the Americas, but what I am saying is you are going to have the burden of proof, and the burden of proof is not going to show you as being an African. Most of the times your history is completely documented somehow somewhere, so even finding proof of being an African slave is going to be a needle in the haystack for many people. And you will find that your people are called different things, but they are not from African nations. For instance, you will see people in French colonies and they are listed as Creole. And if you see where they are coming from during slavery, they are coming from another place in the Caribbean. They're not coming from the bite of Biafra. Now, granted, There is another person that may be equivalent to Trump, is how they call him, and that's your boy. What's his name? Jose Bolsonaro. He's crazy. He's out in Brazil, and he specifically says that no one, the Portuguese did not step foot in Africa, that the people from Africa came in droves to be in Brazil. They could equivalent him to Donald Trump. One of the female reporters have him. She asked if he supported, if he wanted to rape her because he said that he hates women or something like that. They accused him of saying that, and he told the reporter, "You're too ugly to rape. Who would?" So they have him painted as a Donald Trump of Brazil, but he says some things about Brazil as well. King John moved the throne from Portugal into Brazil in the 1880s. So the complete infiltration of Brazil did not happen, let's say, right away. And it did. When it did happen, it was explosions of people fleeing different conflicts and different things. So now here it is. You have the people that did come from Africa, different areas of the continent of Africa into Brazil, and they have intermingled and migrated. Brazil, South America is a huge area. You still have scores of original people. So no one from the Western Horn or the western portion of what they now call West Africa are the people that were there 400 years ago. You go back to that map that we just showed you, Ethiopia is nowhere near where it is in Ethiopia today. And I urge Black people to try and understand what's going on. And you'd better do your genealogy, because the colonization of Africa happened recently. Apartheid just ended in the 90s in South Africa. A lot of those places gained their independence in the 1950s, not the 1800s. So that is the last place conquered, and America is the first place. Okay? And you go back to that map and you see where those kingdoms were, and you see how that went, and look at the captions and look at the people that they are speaking about during that time. They mentioned Prester John and a couple of other things, and that is your Wildermuller map, reputed all over the world, and you check those things out. They have ones in different translations that are in other languages, that are indicative of the colonizer that was there at the place, at the present time. So when people are saying transportation is the legal word for transportation. Let's pull that up so people can see. And the manifest say slaves, laborers, transportation, and passenger. A passenger legal word means someone that pays to go from point A to point B. So you can't call them a slave if they came on a boat from Africa and ended up in the United States before 1808, between 1750 and 1808. So if they got kicked out, the original people, such as some of those European people that were kicked out, some of them were kidnapped, walking outside at 10 p.m. and at night with no husband, things like that, not being covered up, or public drunkenness, or whatever it was. People were getting shipped out. And transportation, the legal word for transportation, doesn't mean that you take a boat or a bus from here to there. Transportation means you get shipped somewhere for parole purposes. So that means that you're going to a penal colony. New York, Rhode Island, Georgia, penal colonies. Pennsylvania, penal colony. These are where your criminals came through. So when you have these ships that did come in, they did contain slaves, but were they Irish slaves? Were they Scottish slaves? Were they British slaves? Were they Portuguese slaves? Who were they? Did they steal a cow? Were they on parole? Did they pay to come over here and get a slice of the American dream? Did they come here on vacation to see what all the hooting and hollering is about? And say, hey, I ain't never coming. Mama, I'm staying. I love America. They got good, get right over here. Got fine women. The men can fight. They got all sorts of different sports. They know how to make different food taste good. They use these different seasonings. They eat grits. They have salad. These things called tomatoes that they like to attribute to Italians. Like she made some spaghetti sauce or something. How? When the tomato is here. So 2020 is also going to be the Reconstruction era, part 2, where we are reconstructing the actual truth in history. We dare any college professors. We are looking to debate anybody on what happened in the last 4 years in America. Tangible, firsthand, primary, absolute, in your face. Never mind what those books were saying, what someone's personal opinion is. Let's get to the first-hand accounts, to the sources, straight up. Let's get to the genealogy. These people ain't telling the truth. And if you don't practice racism, then I don't know what to tell you. You don't get to cry about people killing you, especially if you're killing each other. You don't get to do that. What you saying, Mac?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was listening to what you were saying, and then I was responding to the people in the chat. Yeah, I mean, everything that you said was not only on point, but then how can they refute what we're saying? I mean, can nobody refute it? And I remember the conversation earlier we were having offline, how you said there's so many celebrities who are having these type of discussions, but then they don't even know. They don't know they don't know what we know. They don't know even the basics. So I think what I'm gonna do is today I'm gonna go ahead and create that account that you and Coach told me to do, and we're gonna take this to Twitter.
Yes.
We're gonna take it to Twitter. It's time to make change.
Right. That's right.
Because if they don't know about these records, if they don't know about who they are, and we can bring this to their attention, it's gonna be problems. In the good way though. We're gonna make some huge changes.
Indeed. Indeed. Let me also show you, because there are some African slave manifests, but again, and let me just show you, they say the same thing. And if you look at the manifest, which I've went through many, 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 and it is mostly cargo, not people. And it'll say 3 women, 4 men, but they could have paid to go to Disney World, of whatever Disney World was in 1720, right? Because the window for Africans was closed in 1808. There's no breeding farms here, honey. There's marriage certificates. There's boom jumping. Boom jumping ceremonies didn't come from Ghana. It's an Algonquin Indian thing, and it's well documented. So it's time to bring back the potato salad, because the potato was from America. Everything is from America. The cocaine that was in King Tut's body came from America. Corn is something that we shared with the world, came from America.
In abundance.
The tomato, the potato, the sweet potato, turnips,
What was
legumes,
that old
beans.
saying years ago? You was telling people they ain't never got diabetes off of from turnips and corn and potatoes. They never
That's
got
right.
diabetes from that.
That's right. That's right.
That you're getting
So
diseases and sicknesses from eating everything else.
that's right. That's right. So
Time to
people
come
have a
home.
lot of stuff that they gotta check in with, because they have bad information, and they're never going to be able to hit anything tangible. And the thing about it is it's sad to see them begging for things that are already there. I don't know how they're going to handle it, but it looks like they need some different teachings. And I'm happy that we are going to be able to do these presentations. Certainly, when it comes down to putting out the truth, because if you look at these social media platforms, everybody putting out a whole bunch of hurt feelings, blaming white people for everything, accepting no accountability for themselves, and essentially expecting something for nothing when they're not even sure what to expect because they have no idea where to place themselves in a narrative. It's going to be different hands out for different things, and you want to make sure that yours is out when it's time to get dispersed. Many things happen, and it's not just slavery. It's not just that. So, yeah, that's it. I yield, Mike. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, well, I'm kind of currently creating a Twitter right now. Everybody asking me what's going to be my Twitter. So hold on just a moment. Coach, you got anything to add in right quick while I create this Twitter as we speak and share with the people?
Coach in the background.
We got some no grandma killer info for him tonight. Before I go to bed. I don't know about y'all.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Definitely get to it. You want to make that announcement, Coach?
Okay, here we go. Let me see. I don't want mic too close to my face. All right, here we go. I'll make sure they can see this nice and clean. There it is, everyone. There it is. Now available for the 3rd and 4th. No, that's wrong. I don't know why they have the 3rd. I have to correct that. The webinar tickets is for just the 4th of July. So I gotta go ahead and. But yeah, for the 3rd and 4th July tickets, for the webinar, it will be for the 4th. I'll go back and edit that. But yeah, we will be streaming online. I don't even know what else to say. We just said so much. Yeah, we about to be streaming.
We are going to stream the NoGrandmaKillers for the people that will be unable to attend.
That's right. You won't get that group
You're
feeling,
going to get
but
the full 12 hours.
yeah, it's an all day. That's what I wanted to show. It was an all day event.
On Saturday, lots of different flavors, fresh new stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a long event, so you're gonna have to get your food and stuff and get ready. But I think it started at 12.
Like a smorgasbord of all of your favorites, and
Oh, that's my email. What the world?
it's gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I was
Got my email up there. No, boy,
I'm about to text you.
it time me go to bed now for real. I ain't playing. It's been a long day. But yeah, we do got the tickets. I was trying to show the time and everything that was on them. I think I gotta go to Eventbrite to pull it.
You can actually go to the website.
Yeah, the website. The website
Yeah,
is.
go straight to the website, NoGrandmaKillers.com.
But it do start at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock on Saturday. For the streaming online, and it's like I don't know what, a 10-hour event, 11-hour event, something like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a
Hey,
day
Phoenix,
full.
my Twitter is Choctaw_Mac.
Copy that. I'm
Yeah, I
1492
gotta.
Phoenix.
All right, let me see.
So y'all got anything else y'all wanted to push out before we shut down and get ready for another day? It's Tuesday. We on a countdown for real.
We are on the countdown. Yes. I'm super excited. And no, it is not Tuesday. It is Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday. It's about to be Tuesday.
Right. Yeah, that is true. So I'll be down there probably Wednesday. More than likely, I'll be there Wednesday. I'm super excited, getting closer to the date. Definitely make sure you check out NoGrandmaKillers.com. Shout out to Aboriginal Mac and all of the other Indians. Got Cop Color K and beautiful Tasha She. So many others. Shout out to Carrie Davis. We are super excited. Johnny Aborigine. We're all going to be in the building. We got presentation. We got Aboriginal Mac. That's going to be dope. Everybody's going to be in the building getting it in. We got Spirit Wolf, Lisa Cypress.
And I say Mac name too loud. No, I'm just saying.
Omar Crazy. We got Omar Crazy. It's going to be dope. Chief Cali.
Oh, yeah. We got the all-star squad.
I'm super excited. This is going to be nice.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be one to remember. First of its kind. A lot of solutions.
Yes.
A lot of help.
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm about to go bring in the groceries. Hold on, right quick. Hold on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, doing what fathers do. Staying busy. Know how that is.
All right. That's right. It's still early out there.
Oh, yeah. It's pushing 11. You know, I like to get up early.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here with the Forrest Whitaker eye. You know, I'm tired. My bedtime be 9:30.
Forrest Whitaker. No, not the Forrest Whitaker. All right, well, I guess that's it. I'm about to go. Celestine will be there as a vendor. Yes, she will. Where the webinar tickets? Go to the website, Mad Squabbles. You've been asking, but yeah, just go to the website. It's there. Believe me, it is there. It's on the website. Corey slide. Let me see. Well, Black Europeans need to go back to Europe to overthrow the Queen Elizabeth. These folks wildin'. All right, I ain't got nothing else. Phoenix, you got anything else before we jump off here?
No, I had a great time. I will catch up with you guys later. Shout out to everybody. Keep well. Peace a lot you can.
All right, y'all. I'm out of here.
All right, take care, y'all. I got the little one with me. He about to go crazy. You want to get beat up? You want to get beat up? Now he acting shy. All right, this is Mac. I'm up out of here. I appreciate it, Phoenix. I appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah.
Yes,
I appreciate all of it, man.
All right.
All right.
And Phoenix, I'm gonna send you and Coach my Twitter.
Yes,
no
do
more.
that.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Phoenix, let the world know the truth. Expose the lies, study the bloodlines, the Aboriginal. Phoenix, let the world know the truth. Expose the lies, study the bloodlines. In the drive before the Spanish, the Dutch, and the British arrived. Saying we was from Africa and stole a birthright. That's a trick move, something that a dirty war would do. Claim your nationality of the land, you get screwed. So we studied your background, the treaties you wrote. Fake as history, we ain't come over here on no boat. Frontin' like you indigenous to the land, you disgust me. The tomahawk is back in our hands, it's getting ugly. You running around screaming black power, cause it sells to the truth. Rivers veil with a bull and high hills. Native Americans butt hurt, can't deal, cause they know damn well the trail of tears ain't real. Respect the Aborigine, this land is ours, and though you all. You still a guest, motherfucker. I had one little, two little, three little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them, telling me. I had one little, two little, three little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them, telling me. House nigga, real nigga, fake nigga, feel nigga. My skin ain't black, what the deal, nigga? Salute on my real spit, it's Aborigines, owners of the land and every goddamn tree and every goddamn the MC. Invaders ever crossed to step foot on the land, or you can step the fuck off. Breathe. You can make a swing the sacred tomahawk. Fucking around with us with that black conscious talk. Fake pics of slave ships, that's the reference. If we African, look, you gon' need more evidence. I'm American, Aboriginal, indigenous. Your bogey is name test. That shit is rhetoric. Stay woke. Aboriginal, get out. Your civil rights acts, all you can eat, big out. The Stockholm syndrome, make your skits out. Phoenix Moon got the antidote, get that shit out. Meanwhile, I'm rapping about my birthright, fuck a freestyle. Teach each man, each woman, each child. Black races really Indians indeed now. Man, they indeed now. Hollywood, Title 18, G goes. The pilgrims get big gold with Phoenix and Beast Mode. Bringing my peoples out of the sleep mode. We ain't black, colors, Africans, or Negroes. But 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them. Telling me, I had 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian grandmas, but society keep killing them. Telling me,